All right. Well, welcome, my X and Y listeners. As I said before, previously, that I was going to start trying to do more interviews to give you a different point of view on certain things other than my own. Even though probably 99% of the time that my point of view is the right one. Um, I'm going to give you a different perspective and hearing other people as well, and it's good for the both of us to grow in our journey to be more knowledgeable about certain things that people in relationships and marriages go through. So, without further ado, I have a wonderful guest today, and she's very experienced in this type of X and Y thing. Her name is Jennifer Elizabeth Masters. She's a soul sculptor, best-selling author, a certified transformational life and sex coach, energy healer, hypnotherapist, and intuitive life coach. I want you to welcome Jennifer Elizabeth Masters. How are you doing, Jennifer?
I don't walk on water, although you make it sound like I do. And I had to laugh when you said that your opinion is the right one. Well, we'll have to see about that.
Well,
Thank you for having me on your show.
Glad to have you. Well, I'm going to be a little biased,
Of course.
But now, of all of the things that you do, the hypnotherapy, all of those are quite interesting. But of course, the one that jump out at me at most is the sex coach, also the hypnotherapist too. I'm going to ask you about that. But for my listeners who don't know, what is a sex coach?
Well, a sex coach, hopefully, is non-judgmental and helps you achieve deep intimacy, helps you overcome any hang-ups or maybe misunderstandings about yourself, your own body, your sexual experience, sexuality, and being able to couple with someone else. So that's what I do. People come to me when they're having issues and challenges in the relationship. And the thing that I will say is that if you're having problems arguing a lot, sex is going to be challenging at best, because if you don't have good communication between two people, sex is a form of communication. And so our bodies talk together. And if we're feeling angry or pissed off with the other person, it's kind of hard to really lean into them and allow yourself to feel fully. Now, so I help people with those things.
Now, I want to ask you about that. Now, I guess now there are always exceptions to the rule, because I've been angry at my mate sometimes, and if the situation arises, I had no problem fucking. No matter how mad or angry I was, that never was a problem. Now, granted, if we were in a good place and we weren't mad, yes, it was better. Yes. But, if I was angry, that wouldn't stop me from fucking. So is that a thing that is concrete? Like you must be in a relationship?
I would say, because you're a guy, that it's easier. And I'm not saying that women don't have angry sex and enjoy it. I've done it too. Is it possible? Yes. But oftentimes women are the ones that go, hell no, you're not going to touch me after that. So that's what I'm talking about, is that now, can we couple together? Can we have fabulous sex when we're angry? Absolutely. And it could be really passionate, because what is anger but passion? So it can be fantastic. But what I'm saying is, when you've been fighting for a long while, maybe you're having problems with raising your kids, or, kids can really be an issue in a relationship, or, maybe you've got, money problems, then sex sometimes is a real big challenge when you don't agree on the regular life, life happenings, like bank accounts and spending and budgeting and that sort of thing. So, sex is it is the core of who we are. But I will say that when we're on the same page with our partner and have deep understanding, that's when we can, have that I saw God experience. Have you ever had that kind of experience, Roosevelt?
Yes, I have. But it hasn't happened very often.
No, it's a rare thing.
It's a rare thing.
It's a beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would agree with you there. It doesn't happen very often. It's almost like a drug almost something that you're always seeking to get. But it never quite get there, a lot of times. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like the magic of having an orgasm together. How often does that happen? Not very often. And usually, we cross the finish line at different times,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the driving force between a lot of couples that's come together. It's wonderful when you do, but it's a challenge for a lot of people.
Right. And that's something I want to talk to you about later on as well, is the orgasm and coming across the finish line at the same time. So that's very important as well.
Okay.
Now, what is a hypnotherapist? What is that? You hypnotize people to be able to fuck better or something? What is that?
Well, if somebody's had, let's just say that a priest or, maybe a stepdad or, someone had sex with you as a child and you have maybe some hangups about sex. So I would go in. I've worked with women who, long ago, one woman in particular, she was raped over a 3-day period. She was kidnapped. And she was at some sort of a music festival and she was high and she got kidnapped. And she was held at knife point for 3 days. And talk about trauma. And, she processed it on the surface, was able to go about her life kind of, but on a deep level, she did not trust men. And so the best sex that we can have is when we trust for women, we have to trust our partner to really let go and really break free of any kind of limitation. So hypnotherapy could get you through blocks. It could get you through fears. Maybe a woman can't have an orgasm because of something that happened in the past. It's more likely to do with women, although I have hypnotized men for sex as well.
Really? So does it really work, or is it just something that I see on TV that looks different?
Well, hypnotherapy is fabulous because the things in the unconscious mind we don't have access to. So we often have no clue what is going on. It's like the iceberg. We see, if you see an iceberg out on the ocean, there's a little tip that you see, but the rest of it is under the surface. Right. And that's the way the unconscious mind is. It is active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is the only part of the mind that is always active. So that is the thing that, it houses the fears. It houses the mental blocks and programming that we can't get to. So being able to access the unconscious mind and reprogram it can be extremely powerful. So let me just give a personal example.
Okay.
I had tons and tons of sexual trauma as a child. From as early as I was able to stand, but I wasn't really walking. I had sexual trauma very early, and for different people. And so I had all kinds of hangups about sex. I was afraid of men. I didn't have an orgasm unless it was an absolute fluke, because every time I started to feel the pleasure, I would stop it. And that was from the childhood programming, because as a child, when somebody is manipulating you and you start to feel pleasure, you go, well, this isn't right. And so you choke those feelings down. And so that deep programming needed a lot of work for me. And it wasn't until I was in my 50s that I was really able to have an orgasm. And that can happen when you've had sexual trauma. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah, since you put it in perspective like that, I can see where that would definitely help someone who's actually experienced something very traumatic in their earlier life. That's something I could definitely understand. I guess, since I haven't experienced that, it's kind of hard for me to see looking from the outside, when you're talking about getting hypnotized, a lot of people say hypnotize, that's bullshit, blah, blah. But, when you explain it like that, I could definitely see how that could benefit someone to open up and be more open with themselves and to free their minds of the things that are limiting them from experiencing that feeling.
Well, that woman that I was telling you about, when I did 2 sessions with her, I recommend that you always have more than one. One session will create new programming, but the second one cements it. So I did 2 sessions with her, and it's amazing because she'd had a landscape business that wasn't doing anything. And after the second session, her business just took off.
Wow.
And it just was like a snowball rolling down the hill. Yes. So she was holding herself back in many ways, not just
sexual. Okay.
Right.
Wow. Okay. So that's something, hopefully I never get to that point, but I guess that's something.
I hope not too.
That's definitely an option I had to keep open, to be hypnotized. Although after watching the movie Get Out, did you see that?
No, I did not.
Okay. You don't know what I'm talking about, but if you ever see it, you know what I'm talking about. But
is it a scary movie?
It's scary / comedy. A lot of a lot of the script is the lady. She was a psychologist and she hypnotized the guy. Anyway. But so that's definitely something that I think people should take serious as a treatment for their problems. So, so that's definitely good to know. All right.
So I also do energy healing as well. And so if it could be a mental block, it could be cleared through energy healing as well. I know that you wanted to talk about the imbalance of sexual desire between men and women.
Yes, that's one of the things that I was going to move to. But first, what I want to ask you, I know that you are a sex coach. Now, I see a special on CNN. I forget the lady's name, but she did a special where basically she had like 3 or 4 different types of sex coaches, and they were all different in the way that they did their practices. Some were more hands-on approach, some were more talking, some were more holistic approach. What kind of sex coach do you consider yourself to be, or are you what is what is necessary? What do you consider yourself to be?
Okay, so I've had people call me and ask, they want to have a session with me because they think I'm a hands-on with a happy ending. I am not that kind of coach. I am not. No, I would be a talk therapy. I do hypnotherapy where I talk to my client. They may be lounging in an easy chair, but no, I don't touch.
Okay.
No.
All right, but that is a reality. A lot of sex coaches that do it that method, and it's not nothing to kick down. It's just that some therapists or coaches do things differently, and that is
yes. There are tantrikas out there that they've studied tantra, and they do special sessions with men and women clients. And I went to a couple in Colorado that was who helped me to do my sexual healing. And because I'd had this block about orgasm. And see, that's the thing, is that there are some people that they do hands-on healing. And so depending on what your issue is, you pick who you need to go see. Now most of my practice is actually about the relationship itself. Do we talk about sex? Yes, we often do talk about sex, but a lot of what I do is counseling, because people have such a hard time getting along with one another because we've got triggers from the past, and we can get upset with our partner. And when we're angry, I mean, a lot of people come to me because they're not having sex at all.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And there are many sexless marriages. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend sleeping in separate beds, because when you do that, you can go to bed angry. And that's never a good thing. You should never go to bed angry. You should work it out before you go to sleep. And sleeping together helps you, because how can you sleep next to that warm body, especially if it's naked, and still be angry when you wake up in the morning?
That's impossible for me. It's no way that would happen. No way. But let me ask you something. If you see 100 couples, how many of those couples are actually not having sex? I mean, just give me an approximation. I know you can't give me an exact number, but just give me a guess.
Well, out of 100 couples, I would say probably 40% are having sex maybe 6 times a year, if that.
Are you kidding?
Yes. Not kidding.
No. What are their...
No. The couples that are having sex on a regular basis, and I would say regular would be 2, 3, or more times a week. That's regular. That is a small percentage.
Really?
I would say probably, yes, 15, 20% tops.
Oh my God. I couldn't, I'm just mind boggled. That I didn't expect you to say that low of a number. What is the...
Yes. There are a lot, the reason. Well, so I can tell you, I can give you 4 stories right now. 1, 40 years of marriage. This man came to me. He had sex with his wife the first 2 years. And after that, she never had sex with him again.
And he was married for 40 years?
Never again. And he stayed with her. She just passed away. He called me crying because she had died. So he had 38 years with no sex. Stayed married. Another man, and he's much younger, living in Vancouver, BC, and same sort of thing. They have lots of foster children, and she cut him off and hasn't had sex with him since. I even have probably 2 of my brothers are not having sex. One I know hasn't had sex in 20 years. So it's more common than what you would think. Way more common. Sexless marriages are way more common than having sex 3-4 times a week.
And I kind of know that, or I didn't know that. I suspected that. That's one of the reasons why I haven't gotten married, because I respect marriage, the institution of marriage. I respect vows and everything. When I get married, my parents were married for 52 years before my dad passed. But when I get married, it's forever. Hopefully, I know shit happens, but I don't want to be, married and then get divorced a year later and all that kind of shit. When I get married, I want to be married for 50 years. So that's one of the things that prevented me from getting married, because I don't want to be stuck in a marriage and not getting pussy. And I don't think that that's all about making a marriage. It's more than pussy, obviously. It's other things that are important in marriage, but that is very important as well. And I don't want to be in a marriage stuck like that. And that's one of the things that, still have me fearful of getting married, because I don't want that to happen to me. And I have friends that happened to, but I just thought it was not as common as what you're saying.
Well, there's a section in my book, Orgasm for Life, which I highly recommend. This book, so I just like to kind of introduce it, because Orgasm for Life is a book it's written for men and women. And I've had both parties read it. And I'll tell you, I wrote this book in 3 months, and I was on fire hot when I wrote it, but I was celibate. Now, I have to say, I remember what all those experiences were like. So I'm talking about from experience, but not just the female's perspective, but from the male's perspective as well. It's much imbalanced. And what does it do? It helps you to understand what the female body needs, how it operates, how long it takes a woman to get turned on, and the differences between men and women. So I talk about that, but I also talk about the sexless marriage, and that sex is the glue, but not the foundation. We have to have a healthy foundation. But I also talk about, and this is where we're going with this about the sexless marriage, is often, and it has been, I've experienced it, my mother did too, where if the man is in control and he wants sex when he wants it, then, he wants to be the one that instigates. Then when it comes time, and my mother was married for 49 years, and she told me recently that there was maybe once or twice that she tried to instigate. And when she did, my father said no. And in one of my marriages, the same thing happened. I had a man who was very controlling. He had to be the instigator. He had to be the one initiating. And the one time during our marriage, I never said no to him. And the one time I wanted to have sex, he said no to me. Mm-hmm. And so there is that. So what I want to talk about is this control thing. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And it is not a healthy relationship. Using sex as a weapon is abhorrent. It is the worst of the worst. Women do it and men do it. But I will say women are more masterful. Yes. if you're not doing what they want you to do, you get cut off. And that often happens. So, the other thing that's true is that if you're not getting your woman to orgasm, and if she's faking it, eventually she's going to say, you know what, this isn't good for me. I'm going to stop having sex. And that happens a lot. When a woman is having unfulfilling sex and she's giving every time he wants it, and then maybe she gets to be in her late 40s and she's starting to go through the change, she may decide, you know what, this isn't good for me anymore. I don't want it anymore.
Okay, and I can understand why that would happen, and speaking from your book, which is a good book so far, I'm definitely going to read all of it. It's called Orgasm for Life. People go out and get that book. It's on Amazon. I'm going to post it on the site as well, my site as well. Go get that book. So far, it's very good, and I haven't been able to put it down. If I would have gotten it earlier, I would have finished it before this interview.
Oh, but you know what? The fact that it's a slow burn for you, that's good. So I like that. Slow build. That's the best kind of sex,
yes,
right?
It is. Yes, it is. now.
So variety though is so important.
Oh yeah, elaborate. What do you mean?
Well, if it's the same, if you're on top, she's underneath you every single time. If you put your finger in and out, she's wet, ready to go, slam, bam, let's get done. And 2 minutes later, it's over.
Okay.
That's not
You got to
fun.
change things up a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Change things up. Have sex on the kitchen counter. Have sex in the bathroom, in the shower. Have sex in your car. Make it exciting. Because the same place, the same time of day, in the same way, I'd be asleep.
Okay, and I agree with that. I'm kind of a different type of person, and I know that is very important. I definitely don't do things the same way. I guess maybe because I'm a Scorpio. I don't know what it is.
Oh, me too. I'm a Scorpio also. My
Oh,
birthday's
really?
next
Mine's the 8th.
Saturday.
Oh yeah, we're
Oh,
close. Wow.
alrighty.
Hey, if you ever come to
So that there's a reason we're talking about sex today.
yes, there is. Now speaking from your book, which is a good book by the way, and I noticed in your book you do talk about orgasms and stuff. Now, you already said one reason why women might want to stop having sex because they're not achieving orgasms. What are some other main reasons for women having problems with orgasms? Because you know, it's I guess some men are out there that have problems with it, but that's very rare, right? It's most of the time women who can't
Yes.
orgasm. What are some main problems that could stop a woman from orgasm, and what are some solutions that could help her get over this?
Well, women are like slow cookers. We're like crock pots. And men are like Ferraris or race cars. You turn on a race car, vroom,
Yeah.
the engine is hot, right? And now I'm not going to say that there aren't some women out there that can get turned on just by thinking about sex. But most women need to have lots of stimulation before they're ready for the penis in the vagina. And a lot of women, and this is, I would say, easily more than 50% of the women out there, do not have an orgasm just by penetration alone. So some women cannot have an orgasm unless they're manually stimulated. And many women have not explored their own bodies enough to be able to say, this is what I want. Touch me here, do it there, turn this way, a little bit more pressure. So there's a lot of women out there that are afraid to speak their truth. They're the women that are empowered and are those beautiful goddesses out there that can tell you exactly what they want, when they want it, for how long and how much pressure. God love them, because those women are women after my own heart. We all need to be able to do that, to express what it is we need. But lots of women are too shy to do so. They're afraid of hurting their men's feelings. They're worried about their ego. A lot of men feel like, I know what to do. Don't tell me what to do. And I'm sorry, but that's not your body. Do you have a vagina? Do you have a clitoris? Do you know where the G-spot is? Do you know how long it takes to manually stimulate a woman till the G-spot shows up? What do you think? Do you know what that answer is?
Yeah, I don't. I don't have a vagina and a clitoris, and I don't know, unless she tells me, and I have no problem with her telling me. I prefer that. So
Good.
like I said, I'm different than your regular guy. I listen, so I can be better and so I can please her more. But I hear what you're saying. A lot of guys don't want to hear that shit. They think that they are the masterful sex kings and that they know everything. Every woman's different. Maybe someone, yeah.
Everyone is different. Yes. So what I would say is, if there's a group of men out there that are historically not good at hearing what their women want,
really?
It's the Latinos, because they're macho. Mm-hmm. They think they know. Yeah, I've had so many Latino women come to me and say, oh God, I wish that you could get this to my husband. Can you please translate this into Spanish so, I can get this. I really need to do that. So a lot of men have their ego tied up in their sexuality and their prowess, about how they have sex. And yet, women's bodies are different and we operate differently, and every woman is different. So for most women, the G-spot doesn't even show up until she's been manually, and I'm talking about digitally stimulated with a finger or thumb. And so 20 minutes of stimulation, unless her G-spot has been stimulated on a regular basis, for most women, it takes 20 minutes of fingering to be able to feel the G-spot. And the G-spot is on the upper wall of the vagina, and it's about 1.5 inches, depending on how tall she is, about 1.5 inches inside the vagina. And it has like a washboardy feeling. Like if you've ever been on a road out in the desert or an old dirt road that wasn't paved and that bump, that's what the G-spot feels like when it has been engorged, when it's been stimulated. Prior to that, it's flat. You can't even feel it. So this is why, doctors, there's a urologist in New York, he did his thesis on the G-spot, and his determination was there is no G-spot. He couldn't find it. On the 8 subjects he had in the lab, he couldn't find the G-spot on any of them. Yes, that's right. I know. I wrote about it in my book. So I'd love to meet that man one day. So that just because you haven't found it yet does not mean it doesn't exist.
For different women, right? I mean, it's not like it's not like the you see anatomy pic, the clit is always at the same spot. Woman, it's not going to be that way with every woman. It's going to be at different locations, right?
Well, it's generally located in the same place. And actually, if you think about the clitoris is like, the G-spot is the root of the clitoris. So the clitoris is connected to the G-spot, is what I'm saying. And so if you are going along the upper wall of the vagina and you just, feel that, like bring that your finger, an index finger towards yourself along the upper wall in a come hither motion, that come to me kind of crooking your finger. That's one of the best ways to stimulate the G-spot, but it takes time. And if you are going into the vagina with your penis too soon, you'll never feel that. For a lot of my life, I would just be getting to that place of having this incredible pleasure, and then my guy would come. So that's because, excuse me, when there's not enough foreplay, and some women need more than others. If there's not enough foreplay, then she's not going to be turned on enough to be able to have an orgasm when you enter her. So we need lots of foreplay, get that G-spot really stimulated before you enter. And then, if you can insert your penis that way, or even from behind, you can hit the G-spot. Russell Brand did a lot of humor about the G-spot, about how you can enter from behind and hit the G-spot. So it's very important, because G-spot stimulation makes a much more profound orgasm than the clitoris does.
I've definitely been told that.
Right. Now you asked me some of the reasons. Now I've just told you a couple of the reasons. So that a woman may have trouble having an orgasm or not want to have sex. So if she's not getting enough stimulation, maybe she can't shut her mind off. Maybe there's too many things, the dishes aren't done, the dog hasn't been walked, the kids are screaming. When her mind is elsewhere, it's really hard for a woman to focus on sex.
There are guys out there that have problems with orgasms as well. What is some of the reasons for this? Could it be purely childhood trauma or something like that, or just that something is physically wrong with them?
Most often it's emotional. If there has been childhood trauma, it's emotional. There are other reasons too. If you masturbate too often and then, you are desensitized The same gentleman that had his wife just passed away and he had 38 years without sex. This poor man, of course, the only way he would have pleasure was to do it himself. And he got to the point where he'd have an orgasm, he'd ejaculate, and there was no pleasure. None. Yes. And that is, I've written about that. There is that. The name of it escapes me. There's a name for it. So that is possible. But masturbating too much can cause you all kinds of problems, like, you may not be able to get it up, when you're in your late 40s or even earlier. So life force is shed. We let go of life force, or men do, when they ejaculate. So Tantra, and I write about it in my book, I talk about not ejaculating and learning to move that sexual energy up. You breathe and you keep on breathing, and you move the sexual energy up from your genitals up to the heart and all the way up into the brain. And so that's that Kundalini that you feel. So when you ejaculate, when you have an orgasm, you can, if you follow the energy, in Tantra, you learn how to follow the energy, but you can feel the Kundalini rising all the way up the spine and culminating in the third eye, the center of the forehead. So if next time you have an orgasm, focus on what it is you feel in your body, not just your penis. Feel that energy rising all the way to the brain. Having an orgasm is the only thing that lights up all of the centers of the brain at the same time. There is nothing else that a human can experience that lights up all of the centers of the brain at the same time. So yeah, it's powerful. And I probably got off on a tangent. I don't even remember what the question was.
You answered it.
The answer is yes.
Now, you said you wanted to meet the guy that did the special with the 8 women. Now, I would like to meet another doctor or author. I don't know what she is, but her name is, she was in your book. Her name is Luann Brizendine. Luann Brizendine. She was the author of The Female Brain, and she said in your book that men think of sex every 52 seconds, while women only think of sex on an average of once a day. Now, like I said before, I am a different guy, and I think 52 seconds is very inaccurate. I probably think of sex every 10 seconds. But, speaking of other guys, okay, let's give them 52 seconds. But the part about women only think about sex once a day, that's bullshit. I mean, do you really believe that?
Well, now this is on average. So let me just say that if a woman has had fabulous sex and, she's left you and she's going about her day, and she sees a flower and she goes, oh, wow, that reminds me of what I just felt. And then she'll go off on a fantasy tangent. So if sex is good and it's happening with regularity and she has a great attitude, like loves her partner, feels great about him, she'll think about sex much more often.
Oh.
But this is average, on average. So women that are in marriages, they're thinking about sex maybe once a week. If they've got children, especially.
See, that's the kind of things, hearing that frightens me, terrifies me of getting married because of that kind of statistic. And, I don't know how deep that is as far as, just certain type of women in a certain age bracket or certain race group or whatever the case may be, or women in general. But just to hear that type of statistic really terrifies me even more of getting married.
Well, and I understand. I do. one of the things I'm on a forum, it's a radio show forum, and I think I'm one of the few white people. And I will say that the conversations we have are, really different than, so there is a cultural thing, there can be a different way. Like I would say predominantly white people are pretty straight, not totally, but I mean, I would say definitely Black people have a more grounded view of sex, sexuality, the human body, and the sexual experience. It absolutely, I would say yes, without a doubt. Where, I mean, you could look at the vast majority. I mean, goodness, look at the politicians we have right now. I mean, I can't imagine any of those people having sex at all, but I don't even want to think about it. But, so our attitudes, the way we were raised has a lot, like if our parents were healthy and if they had a great sex life, and, my mother was so hung up about sex. I was raised by a woman hung up about sex. My father never saw her naked in 49 years. So the other thing I want to say is having children stifles your sex life, because kids, they need to be fed in the middle of the night. They wake up. Sometimes they want to be in your bed. Oh, yeah. It's really hard to have sex when you've got a kid between you.
That's why you had to change things up, move to the kitchen,
right? And that happens a lot. That's right. Leave the kids in your bed and you go to the kitchen.
So I guess, and I hear what you're saying. When you get married, you have kids and, the whole nine, that things change, and you have other responsibilities to worry about, other than fucking.
Yes.
So yeah, that's understandable. And I guess with a man, go ahead.
Lack of sleep. If your wife isn't getting enough sleep becomes the determining factor. Hey, I'm too tired. I need to sleep. However, and I write about this in my book, because oftentimes if you would take the time to make love, have great sex, you're going to sleep a whole lot better than if you say no and then you lay there and go,
right.
So
I hope the women listeners are listening to that. Always say yes. It helps you sleep, right?
It does. You sleep much better when you're and so the other thing that I want to talk about. So with women being in their heads, how can you get her in her body? I'll just kind of describe this wonderful encounter. Yes, it was me. It's a personal experience. So I was with a man, and, he's the fellow that I'm seeing currently. And we spent hours just making out, kissing and touching each other, stroking. He massaged me. And so by the time we finally got around to making love, I had my tactile needs filled. My body was like satiated. I had been touched and massaged, and I was in my body, not in my head. You see what women need? This is what women need, to be present with you. So take the time, massage her, rub her buttocks, massage her thighs, ignore the sexual parts until the very end. You can torment her, tease her, but you'll get her a lot more excited if you don't just go target hunting, Avoid the sexual target, leave it, and touch her everywhere else, because there's a lot of other body parts, like the neck, for example. The neck will, somebody bites or nibbles and kisses my neck, drives me wild. So there's lots of body parts that we can be touched and kissed. Having someone touch a woman's palms, sometimes toes or feet, even inner thigh. It doesn't have to be just breast and vagina. Right. Come on, we have a whole body. Use it. Yes. Play us like you are conducting an orchestra. Play our body like a musical instrument, and you'll have a much better experience that way.
One time I had this girl, and I was on her neck, Well, I better not say that. I'll say that offline. I tell you that. I tell you that offline. But you're right. You are absolutely right. The body is something to explore. And, I admit that, I do foreplay. I do foreplay. But I will admit and be honest, even myself, if you can believe that, I think that I should do that more. Like I might do maybe 10, 15 minutes, depending on, what the occasion may be, blah, blah, blah. But, I think I should get that up to like 20, 25 minutes. So that's one of my goals to get that up. But, hey, that's better than some guys. Some guys don't do any foreplay.
I know. And so one of the lines in my book is just because she's wet does not mean she's ready to go. So the wetness is not an indication of the level of her excitement.
You still have some work to do. All right. Now, I'm going to say some things. I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm going to say some things from some inserts from your book, and I want you to go into the togetherness orgasm. Basically saying, how could a couple achieve orgasm at the same time? I'm going to read some things from your book first, and then just kind of go into how can a couple achieve that, because that's definitely something that is kind of that's like finding gold on a rainbow. It's like a fairy tale almost. It's hard to. I've done it very few times, and really, it's been so long till I can't even remember what year it was. But it doesn't happen very often. So if you can give me some pointers on how that can achieve. But let me read these inserts first from your book. Just some that caught my eye a little bit. One of them say 80% of women fake orgasms over 50% of the time. That's a lot. 26% of women fake it every time. 28% of men fake orgasms. 40% of women have some sexual dysfunction. 10% of women never have orgasms. So there's a lot of, and there's a lot more. I can't read all of them, but there's a lot of problems that could prevent men and women from having orgasms and ultimately faking orgasms. And, we could be here all night talking about that, but give me a technique on a couple that's in a marriage or relationship that want to achieve that. Give me a technique where they can achieve an orgasm together. Not when a guy get a nut, that's it, he goes to sleep, and that's the end of it. Give me a chance where both people are satisfied at the same time.
Right. Do you have a towel handy? Okay. So close your eyes. I'm hoping your listening audience will do this too. So play along with me. I'm going to walk you through something that is so amazing for both. So you have a man above you and thrusting into you slowly, like maybe thrusting hard and deep and then pulling out slowly, and doing that maybe once or twice. You got to be careful because I know it's easy to come that way. Mm-hmm. And then going down on her for a few minutes, and then go back to the slow thrust, fast thrust, slow thrust, fast thrust, and then go down on her again. So you alternate back and forth between going down on her and also while you're going down on her in between, tell her how beautiful she is, how amazing she is, how intelligent she is, how much she just smells and tastes so good. So in between, you're talking to her as well. So you're stimulating her brain at the same time. That will help her to get so hot so that when, excuse me, I'm almost losing my voice here. So when you get ready to come, she'll be able to come with you. But that alternating back and forth between, so she'd have to have her knees up a little bit have her knees up, and that would help you. Maybe a pillow underneath her buttocks as well. But alternating between that slow thrust and then the hard, deep, fast thrust. So it's back and forth and going down on her. And in between, you alternate back and forth. And that is so powerful. And I assure you, the two of you will definitely have a good time if you don't come together.
Okay.
But it's a really great way to come together.
There you have it from the expert, Jennifer Elizabeth Masters. Again, she's a soul sculptor, a best-selling author, a certified transformational life and sex coach, energy healer, and a hypnotherapist, intuitive life coach. Now, Jennifer, are you on social media?
Oh, yes, I am. Oh, and okay, you forgot, yes. I'm a generally very happy person.
She's a very happy person as well.
I'm very happy. Yes. Yes, you can. You can find my website is jenniferelizabethmasters.com. You can contact me through my website, book an appointment there. I have 1,100 articles on my website. So if you would like to check out, what I write about and different things, you can do so. But, my book, Orgasm for Life, is a great book. Not only is it intelligently written, it's fun to read. It will make you happy, make you smile, turn you both on, but you're going to learn something. Yeah, it's a really good. Yeah, and I'd love it if you'd leave a review, on Amazon. I would really appreciate that.
I would do that. Now, tell people, where can they find the book besides Amazon? Do you have it anywhere else, or?
Well, it is on Smashwords. It's available. You can order it through. Let's see, you can get a Kindle version or the paperback on Amazon, but you can also get it through Barnes and Noble. Okay. You'd have to order it.
Okay, currently but for right now, they can get it through Amazon, and they can get it on Kindle as well. And it's on your website. I'll put it on my website as well under the internet. Under the interview, so people can get it from my website as well. What is your Twitter handle?
Twitter, Jennifer E.
Okay.
There's only one N in the Jennifer E. Masters.
All right. Orgasm for Life by a great author, Jennifer Elizabeth Masters, a very happy person. No problem. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
And I will hope to meet you one day, and you have a great, wonderful life. All right? Bye.
Thank you so much, Roosevelt. Bye.